Hey guys, so welcome back to Indirect Knowledge. So tonight I've got a really interesting tarot card reading. Now, it's been a long time. I think I've had people ask me this before in the past, but it's been a long time since someone's actually asked me this because it's sort of a presupposition that's built into this question. And I'll tell you what I mean by that presupposition in just a moment. First, let me tell you what the question is. So this tarot card reading is for Gisell, and she would like to know, she says basically the way she phrases the question is, what was my past life like? So the presupposition is A, that she believes in past life regression or past lives, and B, that she assumes that I do too. Yes, as a tarot reader. So that aside, okay, because, it's one of those things, if somebody says, well, what was my past life was like and all, you could tell them anything. I mean, the answer could be anything, and you could make something up and that would be it. But fortunately for Gisell, believe in past lives. I'll just put that out there. Not everybody does, and not everybody wants to hear that a monk believes that, but I actually do believe that. And if you want to know why I believe that, I just kind of take it on faith. I mean, it's not something that I have any kind of sound reasoning or any kind of sound support in believing. It's just something that I happen to believe. It's like any other belief. You don't always have to have a rational or logical explanation behind the belief. You can just choose to believe whatever you want to believe. I just happen to choose to believe that. And when we talk about past lives, it can also just be transformation in general. I mean, essentially, if you believe in, I die, I go to heaven, and I'm going to transition over to that, I won't have a body, or I will have a body, or whatever your belief is on that, or I'm taking everything that I have currently now with me to heaven, or I'm leaving everything behind and going to this really great, amazing place and all. Hey, that's just as, that could also be very transitionary also. In a sense, you could say that's a new life. So we're leaving the old life behind, even though it was the same life, but it's just a different chapter. So why exactly do I believe in past lives? It's really, you got to understand kind of the way I think of past lives. I think that the past, something that happens in the past, that's the first part of a past life. You've got the word past. Life is really what we do all the time, right? Now, whether we die completely and we turn to dust and nothing else ever happens, that's still a transformation. So in a sense, that we could die, but at the same time, that could just be from that new life can be born. It could be like a tree or something like that could happen, right? Doesn't mean that it's necessarily us, but it could definitely come from the ashes, or the dust, that we become, or whatever organic matter that we decompose in. And that would be very logical in a sense, if you wanted to kind of spin it in that direction. But, you could also just say that, I believe in past lives. We probably lived zillions of different lives and had different experiences and so on and so forth. And that could be very true as well. We could also say, we could even argue in a sense that, every time we go to sleep at night and we have a dream or something like that, that those experiences that we're experiencing are valid and not just figments of our imagination, and in a sense that they could also be considered like different aspects of living. We could, what was it? Who said? T.S. Eliot or someone said once, all that we are seem to be is but a dream within a dream, or something along those lines. I'm probably getting that not 100% correct, but it's sort of like this idea that where we're at today is vastly different than where we were at 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or whenever. So who we are today is different. So essentially that could be like we're having a different life experience than we did 5 or 10 years ago, since you could spin that and say that that's a new life. So there's a lot of different ways to look at life and so on and so forth. So as far as past lives go, I will take it to mean, and this is usually what is meant when people phrase it in a way like this, that we're actually talking about what was the actual life experience I had in a previous life. In other words, before I was reborn, reincarnated, what was the previous life like? And if you can say that, you could also say, well, chances are, if that was the case, we probably had lots of different lives. my belief system and stuff, I do believe in past lives, and so this is not a hard thing for me to do as far as a tarot reading. Not every tarot card reader may be able to do this type of a reading, but I feel very confident in doing it because of my personal beliefs. So I'm on the same page as you as far as this goes. Let's go ahead and do the reading, though. Get a little bit of insight into what the past life was like. So very interesting. So in the past life, this is the Three of Pentacles. This is a tradesperson. Notice they're standing on a bench, putting themselves a little bit above your normal, average, everyday person. They have a hammer, so they're a skilled person. They're doing some kind of a trade. So they have value in that regard. They're able to create things. So it could be artistic endeavor or something along those lines. We also have the this was the ending. This was in that present moment. Well, you notice the stabbing in the back. It's really letting our mind get the better of us, but this is really where like something happens and then something new comes into play. What came into play in the current life was the Page of Cups. Notice we've got the water, which is the unconscious, signifying the unconscious. We also have the cup, which signifies emotion and feelings and different things. And pages, of course, bring messages. So now we're getting this message. So that's a present in this life. So I'm picking up a few things, but I'll tell you about those here in a minute. The energy surrounding that death that happened was this card. It's about doing certain things in a certain way to get a certain result. It's about, refining our skills, becoming the best that we can be. Notice that this is very similar to this card. There's a hammer in the hand. It's a skilled tradesperson. This is the 3. This is what gets us going. And this is where we got to along that cycle. We got to the 8 of Pentacles. So we progressed a little ways from the 3 until we got to this. But by the time we had refined our skills, our craftsmanship, that was the time for our demise. That's when we checked out, so to speak, or died. Now, the thing that this person was looking for, this person who was working, they were looking for transparency. They were looking for, brighter days, innocence, letting things just shine. And that's what was going on. Like this person, they were doing really well. Everything was good in their life. And they were wanting a continuance of that. That was sort of what was going on with it. They were at a place in their life where, success was imminent, that they were reaching a certain level that was unsurpassable by others. And for them, everything was going really well. And then we get to the outcome. And the outcome is the Wheel of Fortune. We think of the Wheel of Fortune, oftentimes it's about what goes around comes around, but it's normally with regard to fortune. That's more positive things. So, whatever you put out there comes back to you manyfold over. And the best things, and sometimes, luck has a way of life has a way of just handing us some good luck, some good fortune, just random acts of goodness, kindness. It could be just something that God is giving us, for no other reason but to help us or to, give us some boon or some gift. And so that's what this card is really all about. And this is where the interesting part happens. What was the answer to this for this person? All is really their service, their labor. There was a lot of hard work that this person did. They worked hard pretty much their whole life until they got to the end of it. And the way to keep themselves from, the situation that they were in was to actually check out. So sort of the answer was, the answer for them was working really hard to get to some luck, to have some luck bestowed upon them and all. But in the end, it was just time to move on. So it wasn't a bad life. So to fill in the details here, the gaps, I'm picking up that you had a pretty consistent life. Like it was, it was a work of labor, a work of progressive improvements over the course of your life. Much of it was focused around work, laboring. It was a labor type work. It wasn't, you didn't get kind of a free ride through life or anything. But what you were able to do by working hard was to get to a better place where, instead of, standing up on that stool and having to hammer away and get things going, you were actually able to eventually sit down and kind of do what you needed to do. So it's sort of more of a slowed down period. But, in the end, it was taxing on you, and that work eventually led to your demise. And then, but, you were in a good place. I mean, by the time that you passed away, things were pretty good for you. You'd made peace with a lot of things in your life. As fortune would have it, you were given some pretty good luck. And so in the next life and all, as sort of a reward for that, we get that Page of Cups as a message about relationships, about the unconscious, the subconscious, and about things coming in and positive things coming about for you. So I do pick that up. As far as what kind of work that you did in the previous lifetime, I'm not really seeing that very clearly. You got to stop and think, though. Like, time is one of those things that if it's a very heavy energy, I tend to be able to tap into it a little bit easier because I can feel the heaviness of it. If it's a lighter energy or something that's just more equipoise, then it's a little bit sometimes more challenging for me to kind of see too much into it. I do see some kind of outside work in that, and I almost see something like, I don't know if it's cotton fields or necessarily what it is, but it's some kind of like farming or something in that vicinity. But I almost see like something like cotton or something, like these little pods of white cotton and stuff. And it could just be a field that I'm seeing that has a cotton in it. But I'm kind of picking up that, and I'm seeing something like a wheel, it's like a metal wooden wheel or something like that that's leaned up against a barn. And I see that. I don't know what the significance of that is, but it's got like it's a pretty good sized wheel that's leaning up against this. It's an older barn too. I don't know if even today that barn is still in existence and stuff, but I'm picking up maybe like America though, as far as like where this came about. It's America or it's some other westernized country that, maybe utilize that. I don't know 100% sure if it's America or not though, but I'm kind of picking up or leaning more in the direction that it is America, but where exactly, I'm not quite sure. And the work was maybe some kind of something labor intensive, but I'm not really able to know trying to pick up something. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if maybe you made the wagon wheels or you had something to do with that, or not really picking that up yet. That up either. I'm not really sure. Yeah, the only, it was, you lived a pretty good life, a pretty solid life, and you had accumulated some skill. I don't know so much about the money, but you had a pretty grounded life. Like it was pretty consistent and pretty stable throughout. And I don't really see a lot of, but to keep the money and to keep yourself on a sure footing, you did have to work pretty hard for it. I know that much. It wasn't given to you at all. And then, but it was honest work, and it was a pretty good life, a pretty happy life, something you were satisfied with for the most part in the moment for the person that you were then. And, from time to time, positive things would come into your life and all. The only thing is that your passing was not of old age. It was not even from necessarily like overworking yourself, but it was more from like happenstance. Like it was just kind of like almost like an accident, but I'm not picking up an accident. I'm picking up more like what's the best way of, it's more like kind of like a sudden kind of thing. It could have been like a heart attack, or it could have been like maybe you passed out from like a heat stroke or something along those lines, or some kind of an exhaustion, and then you never recovered from it. It could have even been like an illness or something that kind of came on suddenly and just kind of did you in. But that's kind of what I'm picking up. The only thing I really, the only learning lesson I would say, that I guess was maybe trying to maybe happen for you, like in that life, was just the energy that I'm picking up is that you worked and worked and worked, and it's like maybe your mindset in that life was sort of along the lines of like, well, if I work and work and work, it's almost like you never just saw the end coming, like you just assumed that you'd be around forever, and that if you worked hard enough and you accumulated some assets or some things to carry you on, that you'd have a pretty good life. But I'm picking up kind of like, maybe around middle age or something like that is when you passed. So you still had time to do things in life, but it was your time to go. So that's that. But anyways, I hope this helps. I mean, that's what I'm picking up. And if you have any questions or anything, if you'd like to run by me or something, please do. Sometimes, it's interesting. Sometimes people will have a question or something, and they'll ask me like after the fact, after I've done the reading. And by that time, when they ask me again, something sometimes will like just pop in and, kind of give more answers to it. Yeah, it's almost like if you've ever had an experience where, like, you've had a dream at night, and then you wake up, and then you kind of remember the dream, but kind of don't. And of course, maybe you don't write it down, and so then you forget the dream. And then that next night when you go to bed, like if right before you go to bed, you're in that same kind of unconscious state, and then it's like you can remember that dream from the night before. I don't know if you've ever had that experience or not. It's very common for some people. So if you haven't experienced it, maybe you know somebody who has, or if you talk to a couple of people, maybe they will be able to shed more light on that for you. I know it has happened to me personally. Excuse me, guys, it's getting a little late here. And so I just thought I would throw that out there and kind of just, share kind of what I got. Yeah, I guess maybe the main takeaway from this is that, life's not just about working your life away and then, maybe retiring and trying to have like this wonderful wow lifestyle or something like that. Like we work really, really hard to save millions of dollars, and then all of a sudden we don't have to work anymore, and then we can just kind of do whatever we want. It's really about the journey. So it's about like everything that we do and the experiences that we have day to day, and who we can share those experiences with, and how, and that's really the main thing. So it's about making the most of every day, sharing those experiences with those that we love and care about, and building new relationships with new people all the time. So I guess that's pretty much it. But but going back to what I said, if you've ever had an experience like that where you dream something, and then the next night before you go to bed, you can kind of recall what you dreamed the night before. It's sort of like you get more information, and you're like, oh, wow, I totally didn't think about that, or I totally had forgot about that. Or I wasn't aware of that. I'm getting more insight into it. That's kind of sometimes what happens with me. It's like, sometimes people will ask me a question, I'll do a tarot reading for them, and I get a lot of information, sure, but maybe there's like a piece of the puzzle or something that I just kind of would like to know more about, but I'm not really getting 100% clarity on it. And then maybe later on that person will come back and ask me a question, and at that time I'm in a different kind of state or something like that, and then that answer that it just happens to come into my reality, and I'm just like, whoa, wow, it kind of blows my mind sometimes that happens. So anyways, that's just kind of a little bit more insight into my process in that. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Indirect Knowledge. I'm Chandra. I'm a monk. And if you'd like to help the monks, of course, you're always welcome to. You can just go to helpbydonating.com. As long as you give from the heart, that's all we ask. And give whatever amount you want. Donations and stuff go to let us help spread love for God to others. And that's essentially what our mission is. And if you like the video, please hit that thumbs up or that like button. Also, if you want, you can subscribe to the channel by hitting the bell notification. That will get notifications every time we come on. So hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell notification, and then you'll be able to know when we come on. If you have questions while we do these live streams and you're already subscribed to the channel, you can always go in and then ask questions and things on the chat. And if we have time, I try to get to those questions and try to help people out that way too. However I can service kind of what I try my best to do. So anyways, all that information and everything will be in the description below this video. If you guys have any questions or anything, or you just want to reach out to me, my email address will be in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching Indirect Knowledge. As always, much love and many blessings.